I want to play my Fender American Professional 2 Jazzmaster. We're going to find out if it's any good. This video isn't like other videos out there, you know, where there's 7.5 minutes worth of talking and just a minute worth of playing. We're definitely going to play this a heck of a lot, but I'll save the yammering till the end. We're also going to compare this to 5 other guitars that may be a little similar. And as always, the signal chain is listed in the description down below, along with the chapter markers. This is probably going to be a long video because of all the different comparisons and such, so you probably want to use them. But enough talking, let's get after it. So you can't really do a review on YouTube without talking about the specs, right? So I'm going to try and do this quickly, that way we'll get back to some more sound samples. So we have an alder body here with a poly finish, a 22 fret rosewood fretboard on a maple neck with a satin finish. It also has the sculpted heel here. The headstock has the Fender logo with the Jazzmaster design. We also have Fender non-locking tuners. The pickups here are the V-Mod 2 Jazzmaster pickups. They are not P90s. So we do have a Jazzmaster rhythm circuit here, although it's a little different. Flip it up and it uses both pickups and puts them in series. They also have their own volume and separate tone controls. We have a master volume and a master tone, and the tone actually has a push-push, which gives the bridge pickup a little bit of a more vintage style tone. So basically takes some of the low end and accentuates the high end. And of course we have a 3-way toggle switch. We have a Jazzmaster bridge with the Mustang saddles in it. They're also brass. And of course the Panorama tremolo system. But that's enough talking. Here's 5 more sound samples. So now that we've heard the 5 other sound samples, I do have to appease some people on the internet. Otherwise, they might cry a little here. But we're going to listen to the pickups on the bridge, the middle, and then the neck position with a clean setting. And as I've said in the past, and I continue to believe so, for me personally, I find a little more benefit in hearing those pickup combinations with a little bit of light drive. So here's that. As I stated earlier, we have a master volume and a master tone. So let's go ahead and turn the knobs and hear how they sound. And we do have a push-push here on the master tone that affects the bridge pickup. So what it does is it takes some of the low end and accentuates some of the high end. It's supposed to give it a more vintage sound. Now it does work in the bridge position and then the middle position. It also works on the rhythm circuit. So just a very quick example, here's what it sounds like back and forth. Now you should have been able to hear some of the difference. If you couldn't, I'm sorry, and you won't be able to hear the difference in the next section here. So let's actually confuse some people, but we'll listen to a little bit longer of playing. Now let's take a look at the rhythm circuit. So again, this is not a traditional rhythm circuit. This is basically a switch that will put it into the middle position, and it'll play both of these pickups in series against each other. It kind of gives it a little more, I find it gives it a bit of a hotter sound, if that makes any sense to you. But it definitely gives it a very different sound. And the great thing here is if you involve the push-push, it still works. So there's a slight sound difference that you get for that. Now, some people here would be curious as to why you would want to, take a look at a Jazzmaster as opposed to the American Professional 2 Stratocaster, or even the American Professional 2 Telecaster. So let's go ahead and play all three of those guitars in the bridge, the middle, and then the neck position, so you can kind of hear some of the differences. Now, I'm not sure what the reaction is to this guitar, to be very honest. I used to own a classic player Jazzmaster, so one of the made in Mexican ones, or Mexico ones, and a lot of people would, get upset because I would call it a Jazzmaster, because it was not a Jazzmaster then. The pickups were different. They weren't traditional Jazzmaster pickups. There was a lot of confusion with that. My understanding always was the classic player was closer to a P90 pickup in a Jazzmaster housing, to which I got yelled at for saying they were P90s, and I got yelled at for saying they were Jazzmasters. So I don't know how that really works with the VMod 2 Jazzmaster pickups. They are Jazzmaster pickups, they're just voiced a little different. So to kind of illustrate that, I have a Parallel Universe Jazz Tele that has the 65 pure vintage Jazzmaster pickups. So we'll go ahead and do an A-B on them. I'll just do the neck and then, or the bridge and then the neck. But you'll be able to hear there's just a lot more high end to the pure vintage than the VMod 2. Now for the final comparison here, I want to grab two other guitars. One that, because of the tremolo system here and the different pickups, some people might liken it to. And that would be a Gretsch. This is a G6120 SH, a Brian Setzer hot rod. A lot of people, just because it has a Bigsby and it has different pickups, we have Filtertrons in here, the TV Jones classics. But some people often think, you know, that's Fender's answer to a Gretsch. And the other one is one that I've always found very interesting, and that is the Firebird, the Gibson Firebird. And it's just based on the shape of it. If you actually put these together, they are kind of, it's easy, they kind of cover each other. They're not exact. And you know, for people that want to say the Jazzmaster came first, it came first. It came like 4 years before the Firebird. But I've always found that it's very interesting that they're kind of reversed, and even the the Firebird has a reversed headstock, whereas the Jazzmaster does not. But if you put them together, they face the same direction. That's a nerdy thing. But let's go ahead and hear just a very quick comparison from, again, the bridge and then the neck pickups. So as far as sound samples and comparisons, that's really it. So it's at this point in the video where I'd like to talk about whether I think this is a good guitar or not. And I've always had a weird love of Jazzmasters, and this one here, even though it's given me a little bit of trouble over time, it's definitely a good guitar. It does a lot of things that the Strat doesn't do and the Telecaster doesn't do. And it does give you sort of like a combination of a Fender guitar and a Gretsch guitar. And there's a lot of different tonal options. I've always thought that the push-push here wouldn't add too much, because it would just give it like somewhat of a vintage styling. But I do find myself using the push-push a lot more than I thought I would. There's a lot of, I'm dialing back on the tone when I'm doing it usually. And even with the, like using this in series, I do find that there are some like nice little nuances that you can pick up on, you know, if you're gonna go down like a little rabbit hole and stuff like that when, you know, involving the push-push as well. And I've always been a fan of the little bit of sparkle and shimmer and jangle that you can get from using this type of a tremolo system. It is sort of like a Bigsby in use only, I would say, because you're not going to be doing a lot of dive bombs with it unless it's going to be the end of the song kind of a deal. You are using it just to give it a little bit of vibration or vibrato to it, give it a little bit of shimmer and sparkle. And that is something that I find myself using quite often when I'm playing a Gretsch or a Jazzmaster. The sculpted neck heel, I guess it's a welcome addition to the American Professional 2 lineups and, you know, like the deluxes and stuff like that of the past. I just don't think it does too much for me. And it is a rather comfortable guitar to play, whether you're playing rhythm or if you are playing lead. I do find though that I'm always feeling that I'm missing a little bit of bite. So the high end to the low end balance, I guess you would say like the scoop of it all, because of the pickups just seem a little off from what I'm used to with using the pure vintage 65s. But again, that just means you dial your amp in a little different, or you know, really try and make do with the controls that you do have. And I do have to state that this guitar has or had some flaws. Let's talk about it. So whenever I see review videos that talk about flaws, it's usually where people complain about tooling marks on the fretboard. And this one here, along the bottom of the fretboard here, like where the high E string is, it's really hard to get. You can definitely see some tooling marks. Now to a camera, it's hard to pick up on that, but when you are looking at it, it is rather noticeable. It doesn't bother me, really. It's just something that, you know, I look at. The next one is a big one here, and the rhythm circuit, or the series circuit, whatever you want to call it, I don't know what's going on here, just faulty wiring, I would assume, because if I'm actually playing with the volume or if I'm playing with the tone here for it, it actually affects the bridge pickup. So, well, just listen. That is rather annoying, but the funny thing is if I tap on this screw here, I don't know if that's just kind of how this is held in place, I guess. It kind of resolves the issue. And that's just something that I will fix eventually. And the last flaw is, well, take a look at this. So this part here is supposed to have threading to thread to the top of the tremolo arm, but there is no threading. It is very annoying that it comes off. I have to, when I'm using it, I have to be mindful that I could pull it off the tremolo arm. I will probably just super glue it or something. I'm not sure. It's weird. There you go. That's all I really do have to say. I have 3 issues with this guitar. Again, the tooling marks, like, grow up. I really don't care about that. Unless there's like a giant dent in the fretboard, I really don't care. I'm not that picky or petty. The rhythm circuit is a nuisance. Like, the issue with the rhythm circuit is a nuisance, but I also know that when I do the next string change, I'll probably just pop the pick guard off and I'll go, oh, that's the issue, and fix it. And this is more funny than annoying. Again, I have to pay attention to it, but it's not the end of the world. And I will state again, I do think this is a great guitar. It has a lot of mojo to it. I wish it had a little more bite. Sometimes I do find that the bridge is a little dull feeling. It's missing some crispness to it, if that was a word, if I spoke. But it is a great guitar, and I'm very lucky to own it. Thanks for watching.